This is Abra. I'm always looking for new ideas on which to give my 2 cents. Please drop your suggestions in the comments below, and I just might pick your topic for the subject of one of my videos. Knives Out is the latest movie by controversial director Rian Johnson, made famous, or infamous depending on your point of view, by his take on Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Put him there.
Yes, but you smack it on the back, you cut it in half, crack it up a little bit, and then smack it real.
That's not gonna end well. There we go.
This movie marks Rian's first attempt at a classic Agatha Christie-style whodunit, and he not only directed but wrote the story. This film stars a number of acclaimed actors, including Christopher Plummer, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Daniel Craig, just to name a few. The movie begins amidst a party celebrating the 85th birthday of renowned wealthy author Harlan Thrombey, played by Christopher Plummer. Harlan has invited his dysfunctional family to his secluded mansion home under the pretense of joining in on the celebration. However, his actual intent is to deliver some disappointing news to several members of the family. After the party, Harlan's caretaker Marta, played by the lovely Ana de Armas, takes the older man upstairs to give him his nightly medications. Harlan convinces Marta to play a quick board game, and when he once again loses, he jokingly knocks the board game off the table. In the process, he knocks over his vials of medicine before Marta has a chance to administer them. Marta picks up the bottles and injects Harlan, but quickly realizes that she accidentally mixed up the 2 bottles and has given him a fatal dose of morphine. Marta's first instinct is to call for help, but Harlan dissuades the young woman from doing so. He reminds her that she has confided to him that her mother is in the country illegally. In order to protect his friend and her family, Harlan gives Marta a quick laid-out plan for how to avoid suspicion. Then, before the morphine has a chance to incapacitate him, Harlan slits his own throat. This is done in the hopes of convincing others that this was a suicide and to further protect Marta. The next morning, another of Harlan's caretakers discovers the author's dead body. The police, along with renowned private detective Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, are called in to investigate. The eccentric characters are quickly introduced through a series of police interviews with the family. Detective Blanc suspects that there is more to Harlan's death when secrets and possible motives are uncovered. With each family member standing to inherit the vast Thrombey fortune, there is no shortage of suspects. The police also question Marta. Detective Blanc deems her a trustworthy source for information due to her rather strange inability to tell a lie without vomiting. Despite her involvement, she is able to make it through her interrogation without getting sick. The next day, during the reading of Harlan's will, the family members are shocked to learn that the Thrombey fortune, consisting of the inheritance, the house, and Harlan's company, has been left entirely to Marta. Despite the fact that everyone had been so kind to the woman just moments earlier, even going as far as to state that they would always look after her, the general mood quickly changes to animosity. How dare anyone come between them and their birthright? One of Harlan's spoiled grandsons, Ransom, played by Chris Evans, grabs Marta and helps her make a swift exit. At first it appears that Ransom genuinely feels for Marta and wants to help her to spite the rest of his family. However, it is later revealed that he intentionally switched Harlan's medicine vials and attempted to frame Marta after learning that his grandfather had cut him out of the will. The twist is that Marta had instinctively given Harlan the correct medication after the bottles were knocked on the floor. Had Harlan allowed Marta to call for help, he would have been just fine. The story concludes with everyone appearing to get their comeuppance. Detective Blanc and the 2 officers arrest Ransom and take him into custody. The spoiled, ungrateful Thrombey family members are going to be left to fend for themselves. And Marta, who was kind and compassionate to the late Harlan Thrombey, is now the recipient of a vast fortune. Rian Johnson has developed a reputation for trying to subvert expectations. With this foreknowledge, I went into the movie expecting the culprit to be one of the more unlikely individuals. However, this was not the case. I felt the movie plot was a bit stale, and found Rian's attempt to address the idea of white privilege and inherited family wealth to be cringy. The characters, while likely intended to be caricatures, were a bit ridiculous. each family member appears to embody a stereotype for how some in society view the wealthy. The family is represented as being political polar opposites. One half is portrayed as stiff, cold, conservative types with an America First attitude. The other half is depicted as trendy, compassionate liberals. The conservatives are painted as alt-right Nazis, while the liberals are slandered as snowflake social justice warriors. I also found issues with the rest of the cast. Daniel Craig's sleuth character was especially absurd. His southern accent comes across as a mixture of Colonel Sanders and Foghorn Leghorn. And at one point in the movie, Evans's character mocks Blanc by referring to him as
CSI KFC?
The two officers assigned to investigate Harlan's death seem extremely inexperienced, with one of them appearing more like a college freshman intern than a seasoned detective. Then there is Marta, a hardworking immigrant whose mother just happens to be here illegally. Knives Out is not a terrible movie, but it's not a good movie. As it seems with a lot of Hollywood projects these days, this film lacks polish and has many plot holes. For example, Harlan appears a little too calm with unexpectedly meeting his fate. The measures he takes to protect Marta and her family seem especially implausible. Why isn't Harlan concerned that people will find out about Marta's mother when word gets out that the caretaker is the beneficiary of the Thrombey fortune? How the heck was Harlan able to calmly construct a plan for Marta and clearly explain it to her when he supposedly had only moments to live? When Detective Blanc suspects foul play, why doesn't he instruct the officers to cordon off the property and immediately bring in crime scene investigators? Why does it appear that both the funeral and the reading of the will are held a day after Harlan's death? How was Ransom able to come up with his murder plot so quickly? And how did he manage to switch the labels and put them back without it being obvious that they were tampered with? How did Marta just happen to instinctively choose the right medication, even with the labels having been switched? Wouldn't a good nurse verify that they are administering the correct medication every time, especially with such a powerful drug? With that in mind, Marta should have given Harlan too much morphine. And finally, what the heck is up with Marta not being able to lie because it will cause her to vomit?
Gross!
This movie feels like it could have just as easily been released on one of the streaming services, such as Netflix or Amazon Prime. Seasoned moviegoers will most likely walk away with a meh kind of attitude. Meh. Casual viewers will most likely walk away feeling at least entertained. Hollywood does their best to slip social and political messages into much of their modern entertainment. This movie is no exception. As someone who considers themselves part of the red-pilled crowd, I feel like details that might otherwise go unnoticed by the average viewer jump right out at me. It has definitely made it difficult to simply let my mind go and enjoy modern entertainment. Those who also consider themselves to have swallowed the red pill might find it difficult to fully immerse themselves in this movie. I tried to go into this movie with an open mind. I didn't find Knives Out to be the dumpster fire that I'm sure many were hoping that it might be. Nor do I feel that this is a film deserving of very much critical acclaim. Based on Ryan's prior behavior towards Star Wars fans, I did not pay to see this film on principle. I decided to give my cash to the Mr. Rogers biopic, and then step into Knives Out. After seeing the film, I have concluded that this was a wise choice. The director is just as spiteful towards Star Wars fans as he's ever been, going as far as to include a character in this film to give us the virtual middle finger. To that I say, right back at you, pal. So what are your thoughts on this movie and the director? If you haven't already, do you still plan to see this film? Please leave your comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks!